Welcome along to a special episode of the Hong Kong Racing Show from right here at the legendary Saratoga racetrack in upstate New York. The Hong Kong Triple Crown might be over, but we've still got leg 3 of the American Triple Crown to go, with the Belmont Stakes being contested this Saturday at Saratoga. I've caught up with the connections of a lot of the leading contenders of the Belmont Stakes. We're going to catch up with, we'll hear from them in just a few moments. We're also going to hear from Alex Evers, my regular co-pilot. He's going to join the show a little bit later with some tips for Sha Tin this weekend and also the latest Hong Kong racing news. But first up on the show, our special guest is Australian race caller Matt Hill, who is in town to call the Belmont Gold Cup, which is contested on Thursday afternoon at Saratoga. It's now a win and you're in race for the World Pool Melbourne Cup, contested at Flemington in Melbourne, Australia, on the first Tuesday of November. I've spoken to Matt about the Belmont Gold Cup, also about the Belmont Gold Stakes. We talk a little bit about Hong Kong racing as well. Of course, he's called Romantic Warrior in Melbourne before, and I started by catching up with him about what he loves about Saratoga. Australian race caller Matty Hill is back in Saratoga, back by popular demand too, because they love him around here. And Matty, you love this place too, don't you?
Well, how could you not? Good to see you, Brownie. I mean, have a look at this. Like, this is a race course, believe it or not. It's picnic tables everywhere. The horses just wander past as they head towards the enclosure. And you sit under a tree with a nice bit of spring water and have a gamble. It's magnificent, and of course it's the oldest sporting venue in the States, so it's got so much mystique to it. It's a very special place. The whole town is decorated in racing livery, and they basically stop for this 5-day festival of the Belmont Stakes, which is unique in itself that it's here for the third time and the last time. You have to do it. If you're a racing purist, and you like travelling to race courses, this is one you have to have on the bucket list.
Yeah, well, you're overdressed because you've just been on air for the Fox Naira coverage here in the United States, broadcast throughout America, and you've been interviewing jockeys and trainers.
Absolutely, and the Melbourne Cup arrives tonight with Lee Jordan, of course, from the VRC, so it'll be on the broadcast tomorrow, and for the Melbourne Cup to get coverage across America is quite special, really, and we're attaching the race that stops the nation with such an iconic sporting event in America with the Triple Crown. So it is exciting. Now, Parchment Party, last year, extraordinary day because it absolutely pizzled down. And the fact that Parchment Party wasn't actually a turf horse, so he got put onto the dirt when the race got transferred to the dirt, won the race, and Connections said, we're not coming to the Melbourne Cup because he can't run on turf. But 3 weeks later, they decided they'd come for the party, and they loved it. Horse ran 20th. He did a good job. John Velasquez became the first American rider to ride in a Melbourne Cup, so that was history-making. And, you know, the Grey Wizard the year before, he had some decent form lines around a few, so it'll just be really interesting to see this year, now we're back on turf, who wins it and what they plan to do.
That's right. Well, Parchment Party is in the field at this stage, but again, he's an MTO, but the weather looks pretty good this week, so I don't expect to have any late showers.
It's going to be quite hot, actually.
And quite hot, so yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing Parchment Party go back-to-back running in the Melbourne Cup, but we might see a number of others. Tawny Port looks a good chance in my mind, and interestingly enough, he ran 7th in the Kentucky Derby in 2022, on dirt, of course. Wouldn't that be amazing if he wins? He's now trained by Miguel Clement, used to be trained by Brad Cox, and then you get a Kentucky Derby, former Kentucky Derby contender in Australia's Melbourne Cup.
And then you've got Corruption, Ortiz, the winning rider in the Kentucky Derby. How good would that be if he was able to come to Melbourne on the back of winning the Kentucky Derby famously this year? It's a good horse too. It's been racing in better grade races on turf. The other thing is, you know, it comes back to the old Melbourne Cup. A lot of these horses don't run 2 miles. They don't run 2-mile races here, so it's going to be a slogfest. There's no doubt about that. Parchment Party won't get a run, and I'm with Corruption. I think it's about a 2-to-1 chance. It's just got the score on the board, but it has to run the 2 miles. That's probably the big key.
Navy Seal with Tawny Port up on the inside. Tawny Port goes to the lead from Navy Seal, Mr. Tonic, and back behind those was Flashiest. But it's Tawny Port coming away from the Big Apple to possibly the big dance at Flemington. Tawny Port wins it.
Well, Flavien, do you know how to say g'day, mate?
No, I'm going to learn. Yeah, it's very exciting. Obviously, the horse ran very well today and got himself into the Melbourne Cup, so hopefully we can get there.
Yeah, he loved every inch of that 2 miles. We thought he would, and it showed today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think distance is definitely his friend, and yeah, it was a good run.
Yeah. What sort of feeling did he give you on the backside as you were sort of working into the race?
Yeah, it felt like the pace was quite fast for a 2-mile race, and so I was happy where I was. I didn't want to be too close, and yeah, I mean down the backside, then I was able to get behind good horses, and I felt like he was traveling well. And when I turned for home, I got a gap, and he gave me a good run.
And the Melbourne Cup is a race that you've been aware of throughout your
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean it's obviously a race that I've been watching over the years, and it looks very it looks very special, and I would love to be part of it.
The likes of Frankie Dettori and Ryan Moore over the years have gone straight from the Breeders' Cup to the airport on the Saturday night, try to get into Australia on the Monday morning. You think you can do that from Keeneland?
Well, we'll sure try if we get the opportunity.
All the very best. Flavien.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, Acacia, how does it feel to have clinched a spot in the Melbourne Cup?
It's so exciting. I've never been to Australia, never been to the Melbourne Cup, but it's a race that obviously you know so much about, you hear about it. It's a race that stops the nation. It's really, for me, one of those bucket list sporting events that I would love to experience in my lifetime. So hopefully everything goes well and Tawny Port can take us there, but just so exciting. The golden ticket was amazing, and even just being close to, not touching yet, but being close to the actual Melbourne Cup was really wonderful, and I think it's a great partnership here in New York.
He ran so well today.
He really did. He's such an honest horse. He's been in the barn for a long time. He's 7 now. He's been around the racetrack a long time, and he really deserved that big win. So I'm so happy to see him get it.
And the 2 miles is just right up his alley, isn't it?
Miguel was always adamant that he stays, and always felt that 2 miles would really suit him very, very well. And he was training lights out coming into this race, and he really put it all together today.
You were telling me before the race that Miguel's been talking to you about wanting to get to Australia as well, right?
He has. So last year, unfortunately, this race was rained off the turf, but from the last year to today, Miguel said, I really want to run Tawny Port in the Belmont Gold Cup and get him the ticket to the Melbourne Cup. He got a chance to go to the Melbourne Cup and to spend a lot of time in Australia when he was on the Flying Start program. So he always said he'd like to go back with a runner.
Give us your best Australian accent. Acacia.
Oh, God, I'm terrible.
G'day, mate.
G'day, mate.
How you going?
How you going?
Well, you're going really well, and you might be going to Australia on the 1st Tuesday of November, straight from the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Keeneland.
Absolutely. It's going to be a packing challenge, but a challenge I am up for.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And as we just mentioned, a win and you're in for Australia's Melbourne Cup. Now, I want to come back and get your selections for the Belmont Stakes, the final leg of the American Triple Crown on Saturday. But
Okay.
I just want to pivot quickly and talk Hong Kong Triple Crown, because a horse that you've called across the line, across the wire, in the WS Cox Plate a few years ago, Romantic Warrior just wrapped up the Hong Kong Triple Crown with a win in the Champions and Chater Cup over the 2,400 metres, stepping up to 1.5 miles for just the second time in his career. How good is this horse?
Oh, well, what a fantastic horse. When he came to Australia, it was pretty much determined that he was 90% fit, maybe not even that, when he won the Cox Plate. And I'll never forget it, looking straight at the line, having no idea if he'd beaten Mr. Brightside or not.
Romantic Warrior, Mr. Brightside, still Alligator Blood, Mr. Brightside coming at it with Romantic Warrior. It's a photo finish, Mr. Brightside or Romantic Warrior.
But an outstanding horse, and to do what he's done in Hong Kong, it's very hard to beat round the world.
Yeah, absolutely outstanding. And while we're speaking Hong Kong, Ka Ying Rising probably be back for another Everest stay in a few months' time down under. Is there any local challenges that can serve it up to Ka Ying Rising at this stage?
Probably not at this stage. I mean, we've got an interesting set of horses heading to Royal Ascot, like Jolly Star, Asfour, etc. But it's hard. It's after the demolition last year. It's very difficult to see anything getting near Carrying Rising. And I think it's a fantastic thing for the sport, though. Horse wins the Everest again. Hong Kong takes, precedence. They're a very strong jurisdiction. And to just have eyes on Australian racing from Hong Kong or from anywhere is pretty special.
And his rider, Zach Burton.
Yeah, the boy from Coffs Harbour.
That's right, just brought up 2,000 Hong Kong winners as well, so another big feat there. And I'm sure you've called Zach.
I have. And the one thing I'd like for Zach is, I remember talking to him a couple of years ago after he hit the front in the Melbourne Cup at about the 200. He got run down and he was devastated. He genuinely thought that he was going to head towards a retirement stage.
Right.
But he's still going, and I reckon that Melbourne Cup's the one thing he still wants to win.
Yeah, I think if you were to give him a choice, Melbourne Cup or Carrying Rising, I don't know which one.
You'll have to ask him. You'll have to ask him on this very popular program.
Yeah, we absolutely will have to do that. All right, time to talk some Belmont Stakes, the final leg of the American Triple Crown. Before we do that, you've obviously watched the Kentucky Derby, though. What do you think?
Oh, phenomenal race. And that is American racing. I mean, we'll see it. There's 61 races here this week. We'll see 45 of them determined by them going absolute helter-skelter. And then it's almost like war in the last 200 metres for some of these horses. They have to kick and grind and be really strong at the end. And the Kentucky Derby was run at frenetic speed. The thing about the Belmont Stakes is I don't know if it will be run at frenetic speed. So it's going to be very interesting for the winner of the Derby, even Renegade, who ran second famously. Where's it going to be with half a mile to go? I think Renegade will win, but I still haven't got my head around the tactics yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race. I don't think we're going to get that helter-skelter ballistic speed, the pace meltdown as well that we got in the Kentucky Derby. It's a smaller field, there's going to be different
That is one
tactics.
expression I will bring home to Australia, the pace meltdown that everyone keeps talking about in the forms. That's obviously the last 500 metres when they get tired, right? Is that what that is?
Pretty much. Well, because in turf racing, horses are actually getting faster as they get to the line, right? But in dirt racing, the horses are pretty much getting slower. It's just you want to try and get slower, less slow than the rest of them.
For a man who used to produce Warrigal dogs, he's come a very long way.
The catching pan.
Exactly right.
All right, well, yeah, I think Renegade's a massive chance in the
Who do you like?
I'm very keen on Commandment. And Commandment got a long way back and then kind of entered that speed.
Sure.
And was very wide, pretty much for half the trip as well, and still managed to hang on for seventh, beaten 4 or 5 lengths. Wafnan Racing, Brad Cox. I think Commandment's going to be very hard to beat. Chief Wallabee as well, I think, was a massive run for 4th, having just his 4th start for Bill Mott, the winner of last year's Kentucky Derby and Belmont Stakes with Sovereignty Junior Alvarado rides. I think Chief Wallabee is going to be very difficult to beat. Last year, Matty, you actually took us out by calling the final furlong of the Belmont Stakes. You haven't revealed your top 3 selections, but perhaps maybe you can reveal those selections by taking us out, calling the final furlong.
Well, I can do my absolute level best. I think Commandment will be in front with about 100 yards left to go, and Andrew Brown will be very excited, but Renegade wears it down. They're all getting tired. Golden Tempo from nowhere, but it's all going to be too late as Renegade has stormed away and won the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
Outstanding stuff. One of the best race callers in the world, ladies and gentlemen. Matthew Hill visiting from Australia. Matty, thank you so much. And next year we'll see you at the new Belmont.
We'll be at Belmont, in downtown Elmont, as they call it. The monster that was Belmont's not quite the monster anymore, but it's brand spanking new and looks amazing. So looking forward to it.
Looking forward to that. As you can hear, the horses are just going onto the track.
They're going to post.
We better get our bets on, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Matty.
No worries,
Cheers,
mate. Good on you, Brownie.
So it's the Derby runner-up Renegade for Matty Hill to win Saturday's Belmont Stakes. It was great to catch up with Matty. I also caught up with a lot of jockeys and trainers of all the main contenders of Saturday's Belmont Stakes. Let's hear from them now, starting with Brad Cox, who'll put the polish on Commandment. Trainer Brad Cox looking to add another Belmont Stakes trophy to his cabinet with Commandment this weekend. Brad, you won with Essential Quality a few years ago. Any similarities between the two horses?
Maybe a bit. I think they're both horses that in a dogfight they know how to come out on top. Very competitive horses. Obviously this is 1.25 miles as opposed to 1.5 miles at Belmont with Essential Quality, but they're both good top quality horses.
And they both had tough trips in the Derby leading into the Belmont as well. Speak a little bit about Commandment and what you thought about that race in the Derby and what you got out of it.
I thought he raced a little wide throughout the Derby. It's hard to lose a lot of ground in the Derby and still have something turning for home going a mile and a quarter. Obviously, it's the first time going a mile and a quarter, and it was a demanding trip. And I thought he stayed on actually fairly well. He came out of it in good shape, and really didn't have any interest in running back in the Preakness in 2 weeks. He's obviously a Grade 1 winner, having won the Florida Derby, and I felt like this was the next best spot for him. The Walk 19 felt the same, and here we are.
Well, Junior, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to be reuniting with Chief Wallabee on Saturday in the Belmont Stakes?
I will be at 20 out of 10. Definitely very excited, just to be here. Last year, Belmont here at Saratoga, it's very excited, and like I say, I'm trying to see if I can be the only jockey who won it twice at Belmont and Saratoga.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, let's hope so, and you've got a great chance. That was a huge run in the Derby from Chief Wallabee. What impressed you the most about his run?
I think it's a horse, if you looked at it, he was very kind of decent close to the pace, he was one of the only one who kind of stay up there at the end, we went through a lot of traffic, and, I think right before the 8 pole, we took a little bump in there, horses come up from outside, kind of bump him a little bit, and what I like is like he didn't get discouraged at the moment, he kind of kept on, and, he fight on for me to finish fourth.
Yeah, do you think the 5 weeks off is going to serve him well?
I'm sure he will benefit from it, and I'm pretty, solid that Mr. Mott, will agree with me.
Yeah. I think Bill said prior to the Kentucky Derby that he hoped that his lack of conditioning would be made up for with the immense talent that he has. Is he really talented, this horse?
Yeah, that's why I think for me especially, it's been a little, I'm not going to call it like frustrated, but it kind of seemed close to it because, I know the talent is there, and I just don't think, we have asked him a lot to do for his young career as a horse. And, I just hoping, he start putting it together, right now. And like I said, he has a lot of talent. He's just like, you're still a baby, he's still trying to figure it out what to do out there.
Yep, aren't we all? Post 3, ideal trip?
It's a beautiful post. Last year we drew 2. I think 3 this year should be fine. We should be forward placed. And yeah, I think we should be having a good spot all around the track.
Yeah, you mentioned that you're trying to go back-to-back. Good memories from last year?
Absolutely, one of the best memories, to be honest. And like I said, it would be just awesome just to have a back-to-back Belmont.
Yeah, well, all the very best, Junior, to you and the team.
Thank you.
All right, Jose, how pumped are you to be jumping back on the Kentucky Derby champions back on Saturday?
Yeah, very happy to be back on him. He's been working very good last 2 works prior to this race, and we're very happy with him.
We're not going to get the same ballistic pace that we got in the Kentucky Derby. Does he need it?
Yeah, I mean, it helps a lot. But yeah, more tactical race. But yeah, it's a completely different race from the Derby.
And from post 9, I remember we spoke before the Derby. You pretty much called exactly what you were going to do. What are your tactics here?
Yeah, this race is different. Gotta pay attention to track bias on Saturday. And yeah, don't have a plan right now, to be honest. Have an outside draw, so hopefully he breaks good, and wherever he wants to be, hopefully he don't fall too far back because it's not gonna be as fast. The pace is not gonna be as fast in front of us.
And you think the 5 weeks off has done him some favors?
I hope, yeah. I mean, Cherry, that's her style. She don't run horses back quickly. All the time is between 5 and 6 weeks, so just stick with the program, and I'm very happy. The horse is coming into the race in good shape, so we're just waiting for Saturday.
I tell you what, Hildebrand Ice Cream and the Horse Whisperer are doing pretty well, aren't they? Every one of the Triple Crown races last year, and looking good again this year.
Yeah, I mean, I signed with them not too long ago, and we had a great run so far, so I'm very happy to be an ambassador for the brand, and I'm going to continue to represent the brand with a lot of respect and hopefully many wins.
And you're representing horse racing in a fantastic way as well, Jose. It's been great to see you celebrated around the world, your Kentucky Derby win over the last few weeks since that first Saturday in May. Congratulations on that once again, and good luck in the Belmont on Saturday.
Thank you.
Flav emerging market in Saturday's Belmont Stakes. When you look back at his run in the Derby, were there excuses?
Well, he lost a shoe. I don't know when he lost a shoe, but it's definitely something that affected his run. And so, yeah, I do think it was a good excuse.
Yeah, still so inexperienced to this horse. How do you think the 5 weeks off are going to help him?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good 5 weeks is great. I mean, the horse has been training here for when he was 2 years old, and I always heard that he was training well. So yeah, I mean, I expect a good run.
Ideal trip from post 8?
Well, we'll break out of there and see what others do, but it seems like there's not a whole lot of pace, so he's probably going to be 40 place.
Awesome, all the very best.
Thank you.
Great to get those thoughts from all those trainers and jockeys of this Saturday's Belmont Stakes contenders. We thank them for their time. Time now for us to get over to Alex Evers in Los Angeles, who's going to wrap up this show with a little bit of Hong Kong racing news, catch you up on the latest from Hong Kong, and also share some picks for Sha Tin this weekend. That's enough from me from here at Saratoga. We hope you have a wonderful weekend of racing, whether you're having a bet here at Saratoga or, of course, at Sha Tin on Saturday night, Sunday morning. Good luck.
Thanks, Brownie. Great stuff out there from Saratoga. I'm sorry I'm missing you this year, but it looks like you're going to have a great day of racing and a great festival there at Belmont Park. Enjoy it, but we got to focus here on Sha Tin. We got a big week in Hong Kong racing. Zach Purton brings up his 2000th winner, first race there actually on Sha Tin Saturday night card last week with Rising World for Brett Crawford. So good to see Purton knock that off, and who knows how far he'll go, if he'll get a 2200, 2500, but great to see him hit that milestone. And then Wednesday night, Casper Founds brings his total up to 60 winners on the season. So it's him, Danny Shum, and Mark Newnham that are pulling away from the field. And I think we can probably count out the rest of them from this point on. But we got racing at Sha Tin here on Saturday night. Again, Twilight Racing, late start on the card. We're going to look at race number 10, the Hong Kong Jockey Club Scholarship Handicap. And this race features one of my favorite horses that I'm kind of looking forward to in Hong Kong, Hot Delight, breaking from barrier 10. I'll go down the list here. We got Storm Rider with Nicola Yoon, young champion who comes back after running on the yielding going there. Didn't run very well. Victor the Winner, who had not been a winner for a while, returned victorious, and he comes back 7 pounds up in the rating. Beauty Bolt, Magic Control, Rising Force with King's Code on there. He's been incredibly consistent since switching from the all-weather track to the turf course. Kahalo Angel with Ellis Wong. Hot Delight with Gets his mate Vincent Hoback aboard, carrying 119, breaking from barrier 10. Public Attention, Pakistan Legacy, We Are Hero, and Glowing Praises. And here, I think the key to this race is going to be whether or not it rains, unfortunately. And it looks like there is some weather in the forecast for later in the afternoon there on Sunday. If that is the case, I'm kind of off Young Champion. If the ground is firm, though, I was looking for him to improve drastically, and I wanted to include him in there. But I'm going to assume that there is going to be a little bit of moisture in the ground. So I'm going to stick with my horse, Hot Delight, here. He'd kind of lost a little bit of weight between his last start, from the last win to the last start, where he finished 4th on the yielding ground. But he was right there, not to disappoint himself there. So I like Hot Delight over Rising Force, who will be sitting close to the pace with Richard Kingscote. And like I said, Rising Force, he'd been running really, really well since switching from the all-weather track to the turf course, where he's not finished worse than second. And then assuming there will be some moisture in the ground, I thought Public Attention ran a really great race last out, and he seemed like it didn't affect him too much. So I'm going to throw him in there for third. But if the ground is firm and they get no rain, I'll probably switch him out for Young Champion. But I like Hot Delight over Rising Force and Public Attention in there for third. And then the 11th race, we might have to parlay these two up in a double here, late double. But I thought Chilizi ran a really nice race last time. Was unlucky to not win, and he handled the yielding ground. So if there is, again, moisture in the ground, Chilizi's a horse that I'm going to look at. And he's second and third in his last 2 starts, so maybe he goes one better and gets the win here. But that's the long and the short of it for Sha Tin. Again, remember, late start, Twilight Racing, so it'll be a lot later for us on the West Coast here. A little bit more manageable for the East Coasters. But that being said, I know it's a different show this week. Brownie and I aren't together. Unfortunately, it's the first time we've got kind of one of these mix and match type of shows. But just want to say thank you all for watching the Hong Kong Racing Show. We appreciate it. We'll get back to the normal programming next week. Good luck out there. May all your tickets be winners, and have a great night at Sha Tin.